MonoBehavior is a class that every script in Unity game engine should inherit from in order to be placed in a game object. Game object is also a class that acts basically as a container for components. MonoBehavior scripts should be seen as components. That's because Unity game engine uses the component-based design pattern. This design pattern solves a lot of issues present in classic inheritance. Classic inheritance being a core aspect of any object-oriented programming language. A lot of people seem to think that object orientation is the end-all be-all of programming, but that's not true. While I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that object orientation sucks, it has a lot of problems, even for games. Intuitively, it might seem like OOP is best suited for games, but I found an article published by Mick West dating back to 2007 detailing how he changed the design pattern to a component-based design pattern in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. And it's important to say that component-based design pattern and OOP are not opposite to each other. They're actually very complementary, and together they form something really unique and beautiful. The problem is, as I said, classic inheritance and the hierarchies it creates. Let me give you an example. Okay, imagine we have a game object class. It's gonna act as a base class for all objects in our game. We're gonna have a player class and an enemy class. The enemy has shooting functionality because we want him to shoot the player. Later down the line, we want to create a turret that also shoots at the player. But the shooting functionality is in the enemy. We could just copy paste everything, but that is bad practice. So should we inherit from enemy to create the turret? Well, that doesn't seem right. We might be tempted to take the shooting functionality and put it in the game object class. But that would create unnecessary bloat for any other class that doesn't want to shoot. Like, this is an oversimplified example, but things like this just become more and more common in bigger projects. And a more experienced programmer would love to tell you about everything. In a component-based system, we would have game objects just be literally a container for components. Then we create a component class that will be inherited by anything we want to create more functionality that is modular and reusable. Components should work by themselves, making it easy to place them in any game object you want to create the desired functionality. So we can create a shooting component that both the turret and the enemy game objects will have. And this will assure that game objects only have functionality that is necessary for them to use. Now, as a beginner, it is really important that you understand this, because you could be creating the same problems by using too many references to other things in your scene and creating spaghetti code that is just horrifying. Now, this is not the end. In the past few years, a lot of people have been talking about the entity component system design pattern, which is entirely different. It is basically data-driven, and don't ask me what that means. On the surface level, I understand it, but anytime I try to go in depth about these things, my brain hurts. Okay, so now you know everything about the existence of MonoBehavior and why it exists in the first place. So if you liked the video, please just give a like and subscribe.